Hello and welcome to TRG Talk Digital. I'm your host, Rick Ivanovich, and today I am joined by David Archibald, the General Manager of AI Naboodah. Welcome, David.
Hey, good to be here, Rick. Thanks for bringing me in.
My pleasure. Now, David, how did you get started in the business that you're in?
Wow. Well, I have to go back all the way back to probably when I hit the parents' lotto. You know, I hit the lotto with my mom and dad.
Yeah.
I had a wonderful childhood, and I had the meanest mom on the block. Okay, so, you know, to bed early, and my dad was the epitome of, showing you the right way. And my dad had followed his way into the car business, and then I followed. So at 16 years old, I started working at the car dealership. Mm-hmm. But that was even before I had I've been continuously working since I was 12. I had a job since I was 12. I wanted a pair of Nikes so bad. And my mom said, if you want those Nikes, there's only one way to get them. You got to get a job. I said, well, what kind of job can I have at 12 years old, Mom? She said, you could be a paper boy. I said, okay, let me sign up to be a paper boy. You know, the next day I'm signed up to be a paper boy, and I got 103 customers, and I hit the trail hard starting then. But I ended up going to work for a man named Michael Shoemate, and he just saw something in me, I guess, that thought this kid's got potential. And I was able to work in literally every department in the car dealership. And eventually we got into motorcycles, which is a very similar business, the same type of processes. And then now I'm here.
Okay, so so can you tell me a little bit about what you are actually doing here? Because maybe our listeners don't know who AI Naboodah.
Sure. I'm working here in Vietnam. I've been here almost 10 years. I manage the investment for the AI Naboodah family. So there are a family in Dubai. They have lots of different businesses, and part of the diversification of their company, we have motorcycle dealerships here. So I import through one company, and I retail through a second company the most iconic motorcycle brands with Harley-Davidson, Triumph motorcycles, KTM motorcycles, and we manage 9 dealerships throughout Vietnam. And, we do our best to make personal freedom to the people that want it and allow them to get the bikes they want and enjoy it.
You have a bike yourself?
Technically, I have about 47 in my name, but I haven't been riding much, honestly.
Huh? Yeah. Okay. So what trend, Vietnam, can you help educate our audience on what the motorcycle culture is?
Sure.
And the impact of your little Harley-Davidson?
Sure. So Vietnam's either the third or the fourth. I think it bounces around largest motorcycle two-wheel market in the world, and dominated especially by scooters. All right. So the scooter market is huge. The big high capacity motorcycles which we sell is very small. So I'm typically dealing with a very small percentage of the population. But unlike most Western cultures, this is a two-wheel culture. And people aspire to have that big bike of their dream. And you don't find that nowadays too much in, the United States or, in most developed countries. The desire to own what we have is very, very much, huge. But the ability to buy what we have is very, very small. So the culture that Harley-Davidson brings, which is a brotherhood of people coming together and riding either together or the lone wolf style riding. But, it really gives people the ability to detach from their day-to-day problems. You can just get out there and ride and not worry so much about your problems and enjoy the air and enjoy the scenery as you're riding through. So it's pretty fun.
So, have you been able to create that type of culture here?
Oh,
that brotherhood, or is it still?
No, it's been very simple. Vietnamese people love to get together. They love to ride and have fun. And there's many groups, clubs that get together and ride, and they do a lot of charity. In fact, in a couple of weeks, we're going to have the largest motorcycle charity event in Vietnam. We host a Christmas ride, and this year we go to Bumi Thut, and we go and we'll help some orphanages and some poor schools. And typically, our mission is to help somebody that can't help themselves.
Well, and you do that every year?
Every year. This will be the 9th year. So since I got here in 2016, basically, I started that. Yeah.
So your initiative?
Yeah, for sure.
So what triggered that?
It's brought from U.S. culture. Yeah. In U.S., my customers, we'd get together and have a toy ride, and we would, customers would show up with toys to, give the disadvantaged kids. Where here, it's a little bit different. We really, we don't focus on toys too much. Okay, we're helping people with food, toothbrushes, backpacks for school, school supplies. Last year, one of our really good customers, he even donated some water purifiers. A couple years ago, we had a customer that donated a full playground. I'm talking about the rubbered floor, all the stuff. So, we really try to come in and make a huge impact for that orphanage or that poor school, so they can really go, wow, this really helps.
You say this is the biggest in Vietnam?
This is the biggest motorcycle charity event that I know of, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well done. Well done.
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay, so apart from that, do you do anything else for charity?
Oh yeah, we help other clubs do charity, but we also do a summer charity event where we'll go maybe somewhere not too far from Ho Chi Minh City, and then we also do it in Hanoi area. Yeah.
Okay. What brought you to Vietnam in the first place? Do you say, hey, did you just get moved? You were somewhere else doing motorcycles and they just moved you here?
You got time for a story?
We always have time.
All right. Okay, here we go. I'm here for 2 reasons. I could go back all the way to a Barbie doll. Okay, I could go back to a stolen Barbie doll is partly why I'm here, but that's going back a little too far. So in 2014, I came off a divorce. I was in the process of helping coach 2 soccer teams, girls soccer teams. And about 3 hours away from my hometown in Portland, Oregon, I was at a soccer tournament, and one team had a game at noon and the other team had a game at like 3, and I had some time to kill. So me and the other coach, his name is Max, and it's not a dog. I always thought Max sounds like a dog's name. But anyway, so there's a coffee shop right across the fields. And we go in, and this coffee shop is just really nice. It's laid out really cozy. You walk in, that smell of coffee just hits you, and it just felt really good to be there. And I was sitting there, and I look up, and I see this lady walking in the door, and she had a CrossFit sweatshirt on. And I had just about started CrossFit, and I thought about doing it, and then I thought, you know what? I told Max, hey, I'm going to go talk to this girl. And he's like, oh, really? I said, yeah, I'm going to go ask her about CrossFit. I walked up, hey, can I ask you a question? I see you have CrossFit. I'm interested in CrossFit a little bit. And she said, yeah, I'd love to talk about CrossFit. And so we exchanged some emails, and then, we went on, coached our games and whatnot. So I started texting back. I started emailing back and forth first, and then worked its way to texting. And then soccer seasons ended, and then I started going back and forth, and I dated her, back and forth about a 3-hour one-way ride every weekend. And she was very fit, and she was a Vietnamese American, very fit, had started getting some back pain. And, I thought, it's probably because you lift too much weights, or whatnot. And then she goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, well, maybe your core is not strong enough. I said, well, that's not true because she could deadlift 3 times her body weight. Okay. Well, you don't have a weak core with that. Then started coughing. And then this cough never went away. And they diagnosed, oh, you got bronchitis. Oh, you got pneumonia. Oh, you got this. Throw antibiotics at you. And then finally I'm on WebMD. And it comes back lung cancer. I said, there's no way he got lung cancer. So she started coughing up blood. I said, okay, get the CT scan. She gets CT scan. Sure enough, lung cancer all through her body. So I quit my job. I went straight, moved to that area. I married her. And then I did my best to keep her alive as long as I could. And when you are dying, if you know somebody is dying, you really want to make plans. Because if you make plans, it's going to happen, you know. And so she wanted to come back to Vietnam. She hadn't been here since she was 2. So 1975, the North takes over the South, and her dad was working for the South Air Force. And U.S. people said, hey, you got 20 minutes, get your family out of here. So she wanted to come back. So we bought tickets to come. And after she passed away, I decided to keep my ticket. And then, I had no job. I had a sole purpose of keeping her alive, and that was over. So I kept my ticket, and I decided to come to Vietnam for a vacation of sorts. And I came through, and I just it just felt so different. Okay. So, I'm from the, not big city America. And, this is like, wow, this is so different. So after I was here for 2 weeks, I flew back to the US, and now I have to get a job. And I felt I had no purpose really in life. I was like, just there. And I could get a job at the local Chevrolet dealer, and I didn't really want that. And so I thought, what if I lived in Vietnam? I had no bills. I had nothing. My 2 older kids had grown up already. And I thought, okay, I'm going to email the Mercedes dealer. Because when I was here, I saw this Mercedes store, and was so, wow, it's really nice. And then I saw the Harley store. Well, I've either been in motorcycles or car business now for 38 years. So I emailed Harley, I emailed Mercedes, and 10 minutes, Rick, before I emailed, the manager of the Harley store resigned. Door opens up. And so, I tell you the story because you never know when just this by chance conversation at a coffee shop can completely change your life.
Fate.
And I believe in destiny, and that's partly. I've had an experience one time in my life where literally feel almost like God talked to me. All right, so my wife now. That's exactly what happened to me there. I mean, I watched her walk through the door, and I've never had someone where it was like glowing. Okay, like I saw somebody glowing, and after that, I think that was God's way of saying, okay, here's your purpose now. You gave up everything already, and now I'm going to put you on your next job. So, in a nutshell, that's how I got here to Vietnam.
Wow.
You weren't expecting that, were you?
No, I was not expecting that. So sorry to hear about
it was
your second wife.
Yeah. She was really nice lady, and it just really, that was something that triggered me really, that life is pretty short, and you aren't guaranteed tomorrow, and that really set my mindset. Changed my mindset after that. Yeah.
What changed in your mindset?
That you have to live your life with intentionality. You have to be intentional in what you're doing. So many people are just coasting through life. They're just coasting. It's like they're just waiting for the next thing to happen to them. And, good intentions are never going to help anyone. Never. So, yeah, it was that point of I have to live with intentional purpose. Yeah.
So let's go back to that time. Okay, you're back in the States. you're at the soccer match.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You did have the chance and count in the conversation, the
Sure.
coffee shop. But at the time, I remember you saying that you had no purpose.
Yes.
Did you have a question mark what your purpose is? Were you trying to find purpose?
So what happened is when I had no job and my job was literally to take care of her.
Oh, no, that was then. I'm going back.
No, before. Okay, so.
No, I'm going before when you haven't even met her. You're just coaching the soccer team.
So I had come through the 2008-2009 financial crash down, okay? And the man that I was working for, he ended up losing it all in that time period. And so through about 2 years of just unbelievable stress, really, in my life in those times. And I was doing something similar that I do right now. I was managing 7 different dealerships in 3 different states. And through that time period, it was just, it is the most unusual thing I've seen in a long time, right? And so after he lost everything, and I had worked for him up to that point at 23 years. And I was lucky enough that my dad and brother have their own car dealership. And so I plugged into that, and it kind of gave me some time to not have all the pressures of being the boss on my hand. And I was able to coast a little bit. And that allowed me actually to spend time with my daughter, who at that time was the soccer kid. Okay. And I was just in a real good spot where my kid was super good at soccer. Okay. So, I mean, it's kind of fun when you're around, someone that is doing really good. And that gave me time to clear my head. So up until that point, I was actually detoxing from the 2008-2009 financial crash, kind of coasting through life a little bit at that point. And then I think that for whatever reason, God said, okay, this is the guy that I choose to deal with that. Yeah.
But did you have any thoughts at that time of ever leaving the States? And
no, never. Nothing.
No?
Nothing like that. No.
No. Okay. So let's fast forward a bit. You're in Vietnam. The place obviously piqued your interest.
Sure.
So much so that you wanted to come here.
Well, yeah. I mean, I thought I'll come here for 1 year, just so I can tell my grandkids someday that, I lived in Vietnam. I had no idea that it would, it would be such a really amazing experience to be here. Had no idea that when you move to Asia, your eyes just kind of open up to the rest of the world. The other day I had a little short on my podcast, on my YouTube page. I've been in like 28 countries since I moved over here. Okay. I mean, I haven't watched a football game on TV in 10 years. There hasn't been, there's so much to do. There's so much going on. I don't have time just to turn off and just zone out for 4 hours. So when you change your life to trying to live with a purpose and really being intentional of what you're doing, you don't have time to just sit there and watch TV.
Okay, so I'm going to make an assumption here.
Okay.
That before you didn't have purpose and now you have intent and purpose.
Yes.
What is your purpose?
Oh man, there's such a difference between success and significance. Okay.
Tell me more.
Success is about what you do for yourself. All right. And I guess once you reach a certain age, maybe you start to look back on things and you start to realize that it's not about you. The whole world's full of a bunch of other people. Okay. And you're just one minor piece of that puzzle. And when you change your mindset to significance, you really start to concentrate on, how can I help someone else? And I start looking back as a manager in the past of some of the people that worked for me. And now they are the managers or they're the owners of different Harley stores or whatnot. I start to think, that means more to me than just getting more money. And I have a 3-year-old son. And so now I'm in a second series of being a dad. And so it's like, man, I can go back now and say, I did all this wrong and I'm going to do this right. But in the back of my head, I know that I'm just the shepherd. That's one thing I learned. I can't be the contractor of this kid. I can just be the shepherd of this kid. And so my purpose right now is really to be the best husband I can be, the best dad I can be, and to see how many people I can help. So, in my company, I do some weekly, management training, and I do every 2 weeks, I usually do some type of lessons for most of the supervisors. And then I have something called the transformation table. And that's where I pick some people I feel that have the desire really to be a leader. And then I give them some homework, and then I let them teach me actually on leadership. So they have homework. I give them a book to read. They read it, and then they teach me about that book. And so I started something to, try to really be more about someone else than myself, have significance.
Okay. So thank you for sharing that. So if your purpose, or one of your purposes, because I now hear 3, is to be that best dad, what does success look like for you if you get that right?
I mean, it's like the name of my podcast is Unlock Potential. It's like, how can I unlock potential in him? I think that there's a fine line between pushing your kids into something and leading them into something, right? And so I really focus on really looking at what their passion is, what his passion is, what excites him, and then I can feed that a little bit to see where that goes. But my daughter, the soccer player, we saw so much potential just in that, so we just pushed it on her big time. And now I look back and I regret I should have let her try the things, but instead she was. When I say she's a full-time soccer player, she was a full-time soccer player. I mean, it was the neighbor kids bought her a T-shirt when she was in high school that said, "Sorry, I can't. I have soccer." Okay, so she couldn't do anything because it was all year round soccer for her. So I think that being able to step back a bit, be the shepherd, but be able to push the passion and see where it goes. Yeah.
So I remember you started off saying that you hit the jackpot with your parents.
Yes, I did.
But I also, rightly or wrongly, got the impression that they pushed you.
They didn't. They didn't push me actually. They were good shepherds.
Okay, they were good shepherds.
They were good shepherds, and for instance, in the summer, it would get dark about 9 p.m. But we went to bed at 7:30. Okay, I mean, we're 12 years old, going to bed at 7:30, and I could hear my friends playing in the streets. And oh man, I was just like, oh, my mom's so mean. But, you go back now and, sleep for a kid is like one of the most important things you can do for a kid is have a good sleep schedule. And I think she kept us on this sleep schedule, not because she really knew that this is great for you. It's just, I think she wanted her own sanity because I had 2 younger brothers that there was 3 of us there driving her crazy all day. But no, I did. My dad was someone that showed us the way, and my mom was there to make sure we were doing things right.
Okay. Now you said, so we've heard, what success looks like on you being the best dad. How about the best husband?
Oh, I think that when I hear people say it's 50-50, it's not. It's 100%, 100%. You got to give 100%. And now I'm going to give the best advice I can ever give you. As a man, do not say the first thing comes to your mind. If you're in an argument, don't say the first thing. Don't say the second thing either. So you got to think a little bit about it. So I think that for me, that I've learned that it's 100%, 100%. And so, I struggle some things when I try to go home. When I get home, I really try to just turn it off. Okay, you got to be able to be present, and it's hard. And these phones are always with us, and we're always on them. And people are calling you all the time, and being able to just to put that thing in the room and be present is super important, I think.
Okay, you said you learned. Did you
I
learn
learned. I mean,
the hard way?
Well, I mean, not necessarily the hard way, but I learned that, number one, I'll never win arguments, so why even try? Okay, I mean, that's number one. But it's as a man, you want to be a problem solver, I think, and you don't realize that your wife's not looking for you to solve the problem. Okay, she wants you to hear her out, and that's it. And so you just keep your mouth closed and try to not solve the problem. And that's something I still face every day. I want to solve the problems, but I think it's about being a good listener.
Oh, so you bring that into, so being the best dad, being the best husband, obviously taps into some skills that may be innate in you, but they may also be skills learned the hard way or not, but you've learned them.
Sure. The number one, I mean, there's two things you need to have as a good salesperson, I feel. Okay, two skills that are very, very good. Number one is probably being resilient. Okay, you have to hear no and let it roll off your back. My dad would always say, hey, it's like a water on a duck's back. Okay, it doesn't stick to you, it just rolls off. But number two is you really have to be a good listener. And to be a good listener, you got to be a good question asker. But really listening instead of talking. When I was sales manager, I used to shadow the salespeople. They were talking, they're just selling a car or a motorcycle. And I used to have to do this. This is Freddie Fox. Okay. He keeps his ears open and his mouth shut because, they end up talking themselves out of deals because they don't ever listen.
So I'm intrigued about you're saying, your other purpose, which I put down as your third purpose, is to help as many people as you can.
Yeah.
And I can see you're doing that in your job at the moment, because you mentioned that you're looking for the people with potential, looking for the people who do want to step up. How do you spot them?
It is so simple, Rick. If you really want to get a promotion, if you really want to get a raise at your job, all you got to do is exceed expectations. Okay. And exceeding expectations is so simple. There's two things that you have ultimate control on in your life. One is your attitude and the other one is your effort. And I see that when people put in the effort and they really are trying, that's one of the clear signs to me that they have, something there that maybe I can work with. To exceed expectations is simple as being on time for something and, asking for more work. Have you ever had staff come to you and after you reprimanded them? Okay, so, hey, you really messed up here. I need you to do this differently. Have you ever had anyone say thank you? Have you ever said, hey, boss, I really appreciate you taking the time to help me with that? Exceeding expectations is so easy to do because everyone's doing the bare minimum right now. And so that's what I look for. I look for someone exceeding expectations. Is there something there that, are they picking up the trash as they're walking in the building? There are little things that say, okay, hey, this guy might have something.
A comment you just made there, it says, people are doing the bare minimum these days. Do you see that as a trend, something new, or just...
Okay, so in 2009, let me think here. 2007, I did a survey of my staff. I had 160 staff in 3 different states. And, what motivates you in a sense? Depending on what age group, I got similar answers. So people at that point that were, maybe baby boomers I had in my business at that time, or Gen X people in that time, it was how can they move up? How can they, get a higher position or more money? And then it would have been millennials, I guess, at that point in time. The number one motivation for them is time off. And I thought, oh wow, man! I mean, it's like how do I get paid and not work? Okay, it's like I think like this is I think I used to call it like the microwave generation. Like they want everything now. And when you are addicted to the now, you just don't see that really to be successful, to really do good, it's doing these things you don't want to do every single day. It's being disciplined, and no one really wants to do that, because what they see on Instagram or they see on TikTok is, this guy's 22 and he's got a Lamborghini. Like, what am I doing wrong? I'm not it should be simple. It should be way easier. What's the hack? What's the cheat code? Well, unfortunately, there is no hack. There is no cheat code. It's hard work, and it's consistency, and it's day in, day out, over again.
Do you feel that's changing? People are working because of this. Yeah, you want instant gratification, and the people are just,
I think, that
not expecting to work hard anymore.
I think that if we look for it, we'll see it. All right. So if we're out there and we want to look for people being lazy, we'll find it easily. But if you really look, and you can see people are working hard too. And I think that a lot of it comes down to whether they feel appreciated or not. So I think it's super important when you run a company or you're the boss, is when you do see those people working hard, you let them know. You really take time and say, hey, I saw what you did. Hey, I saw you pick up that trash yesterday. And you know what? You didn't have to do that. And, thank you for that. So I think that it's trying to build that in your culture. If you are the guy that's always pointing out everything that's wrong constantly, you're going to get more wrong. And that was me in the old days. I mean, I was always, I would, even up until about even 5 or 6 years ago, I would go to Hanoi, walk in the stores and go, look, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. And now I try to go in there and I say, hey, I really appreciate you doing that. And hey, this looks good. And, what gets rewarded gets done, and so that's kind of how I changed that.
So what triggered the change?
Well, part of it was my purpose. Part of it was waking up one day feeling that success doesn't fulfill you, and then finding that significance is more fulfilling than that. And so I think that really, really was it. So when I met my wife, everything clicked. And when we had our son, and then things just started to change for me. How I looked at things started to change a lot. And now I look for ways to give instead of just receive. Plain and simple.
Do you think that's an age thing?
I think it's part of an age thing, for sure. For sure, I think so. But I mean, I don't think you have to be old to understand that. I think that it is about understanding that there's other people out there than just you. Okay. And I think most people are only worried about themselves or how other people think of them. And it's all about me, me, me. But really, to be successful, to really you have to solve other people's problems. And so you have to help, and you have to be doing something for somebody else, really.
Okay, so I understand that, significance is more important. It sounds like it's more important to you than being successful. So, but to stick on the successful thing, because most people talk about success, don't they? So what does success look like to you today? What does it mean?
Today, I mean, success typically is, something that you're doing for yourself, typically. Is the way I see it. But that's when the significance thing comes into my mind. And now, how can I help someone else be successful? What can I do to help my staff be better? How can I teach them to not make the mistakes I made when they first started off in their job? And that really is where the satisfaction comes with. It's like having a thirst, and you drink and drink and drink, but you're still thirsty. I think that comes with maturity, and I think it comes with the understanding that, it's just not about you.
Okay. So do you feel that you are successful?
I feel that I have way more to go. Like, I don't feel that I'm at the top of anything. I think that at some point when you are continuously trying to learn, you realize that you don't know anything. Okay. So, I think that understanding that there's just more, and how far can I go? Not where's the finish line? No. How far can I go? I think that's a change.
And how far do you think you can go?
I don't think there's any limit. I'm right now. I just want to live as long as I can live, so I can help as many people as I can help. I mean, that's just where I'm at.
Okay, so what advice would you give to folks listening in?
I think that there's in my mind, there's three things that I've really seen where someone is successful or not successful. And the first one is on how they think. Successful people see problems as opportunities, not as an obstacle. They see that, hey, there's got to be a solution. I'm going to find it, and I'm going to get over this problem, and I'm going to be better for having this problem. Okay, that to me is probably one of the most important. The second most important thing I feel is their feelings. A lot of people let their feelings control their habits. And I think that the people that let their habits control their feelings are almost always more successful. The guy that's making the banh mi sandwich, okay? He's making the sandwich, and the guy orders a sandwich, and he hands him a 500,000 dong note, and he has no change. And the guy's like, what do you mean you have no change? And so he leaves his stand to go somewhere else. And now the guy that owns that stand, he's all upset. Now he made the sandwich for this guy, and the successful guy is going to say, you know what? Next time I'm going to have change when I start. And then the next customer comes up, they're just going to be the same, happy. Hey, welcome to my stand. What can I get you to today? The unsuccessful person, that their feelings control them, they can't do that. They're going to be crappy to the next guy that comes in. He's still thinking about, hey, this guy didn't have change and da-da-da-da. And then the third thing that I think that is a big difference between successful and unsuccessful people is action. Most unsuccessful people just have good intentions. They just don't do it. And I think people that are successful, they take action, and they realize that a failure is not the event. It's just part of the process. Okay. I mean, Thomas Edison tried 3,000 times at least to make that light bulb. He failed all the time, but it's the action. You have to do something to get something. Knowledge means nothing if you don't do anything with it. But when you have it, it can take you anywhere. You can do anything with it. So it's action that needs to happen.
So we got purpose, we got action.
You got thinking.
Thinking.
How do you think? Thinking, not letting your feelings control you, and action.
How about
doing it?
How about goals? Do they play a role?
I think that I used to really think goals were something. Okay, I used to think that, man, you really need the right goals. And now I don't think that way so much anymore. If we all lined up on the 100-yard dash, 100-meter dash, we all got do we all have the same goal? All want to win. Everybody wants to win. Everybody's got the same goal. But I think the difference is, what's your daily habits to get to that goal? And I think that you can focus on the target all you want, but until you actually focus on what it takes to get there, it won't work. For my salespeople, I tell them you have to focus on the process. Don't try to sell something. Just focus on the next step. Focus on doing an awesome meet and greet. Then focus on your presentation. Then you focus on the next step. Instead, I think people can focus on goals too much and not on their daily habits.
Okay, so it sounds like you're a process person?
I'm a process person, and that's my passion. I'm not passionate so much about product. I'm more passionate about the process.
Okay, but aren't goals linked to that process?
Well, they can be, but it's not what you should focus on. I mean, you should be trying to obtain something. Okay. I mean, it should be for sales. I honestly feel you should be trying just to help people get what they want, period. I mean, for me, that's what really triggered me in 1995. I went to Zig Ziglar in live, and you can get everything in life you want if you help enough people get what they want. That stuck for me. So instead of just trying to sell something because I want something, I just try to focus on helping people get what they want. So I think that's really the difference. Goals, that's like a good intention.
Okay, your parents, Zig Ziglar,
sure,
they're all big influences in your life, maybe heroes. Right?
Yeah.
Any others?
I've been lucky to have some mentors along the way. The man, Michael Shoemate, who gave me the chance at first, and that guy saw something in me. He allowed me to fail and do things, and man, I failed a lot, Rick. I mean, I failed a lot. I made a lot of stupid mistakes when I was young coming up. At one time I was the youngest general manager in the United States for a Toyota dealership. Okay. So, I mean, I was just a kid myself. And, now I want to learn as much as I can. So I look at people, Simon Sinek, I read books with John Maxwell a lot. Every time I can, I'm trying to learn something. But, that's really in my strength. One of my strengths is learning.
Okay. Now, you mentioned you've made a few mistakes, you've had a few failures. Sure. I'm interested to know, what do you think is your biggest failure? And more importantly, what did you learn from that experience?
Sure. I think that there's so many failures, Rick. There's so many. I don't know which one my biggest one. I'll give you one example. When I was at the Toyota dealership, I'm the general manager. We take over from a previous ownership group, and we come in, and within a couple week period of time, we figured out who needs to stay, who needs to go. And there were 3 people. They were great people. They were super nice, but they were just not cut out for this job as sales. And so I thought, well, I'll just bring them all 3 in and let them go at the same time. So these super nice people, by the time that was over, one tried to run over, one of the other managers in a car afterwards. It's like, I realized that, it's not about me and what I feel is right. It's about the other person and what do they feel? What is it? What my biggest thing that I've learned is probably learning from mistakes. So many times we make mistakes and then we'll turn around and repeat it again because we actually didn't take any time to reflect. Takes time to reflect, to understand that how do we end up there? I have a story like I'm driving the church. And I come up to a stop sign, very close to the church, and I look over and I see this motorcycle on its side. And I went, what? And there's a guy laying there. I'm like, whoa. So I'm like, chances are this is my customer. Okay. I mean, so I pull out, I jump out, I run up there, and it's my cousin. He's laying there on the side. I'm like, what's going on, man? You okay? And he said, yeah, I'm good. I said, well, what happened? He says, I'm trying to figure that out right now. And I thought, man, how different he is than myself at that age. I would have jumped up, made sure no one saw me, and tried to boogie on out of there. But he was laying there on the side, trying to figure out, man, how did I end up here? So I think that most people don't take any time for reflection. And they don't take the time to pencil out some things. In the last, few years, I really started to write down kind of what I did today. I started journaling a little bit. I started writing down that, reflecting on what happened for the day. But if there is a mistake, and we all make them a lot, why did this happen? How can it not happen again? So reflection, being able to learn from your mistakes. It's not fail and try again, fail and try again. It's actually fail, sit back, reflect, learn. Okay, I don't want to go down that road. Let's do this. So I think that's probably one of the main things.
When you say reflect, what does that look like?
I mean, it's at the moment it happens sometimes when you realize, there's a mistake at the end of the day. And then also I try to, at the end of the year, actually kind of go back through my calendar, go back through my planners that I've had, go back through and say, okay, what is it that this year I'm going to really try to concentrate on? What did I do wrong here and what can I do right here?
Bit of a changing question now.
Okay.
What makes you smile?
It really boils back to my purpose, having fun with the family, seeing my little boy grow up, seeing my older kids, have success and do the things that they enjoy doing. I think that it still revolves around others. I try to make sure that I'm positive to somebody every single day. All right. So I wake up every morning about 5 a.m. and I do about 5-kilometer walk every morning. And I'll see drivers getting ready for their bosses are going to come out and they're cleaning their car. I walk up, man, this is the cleanest car I've seen in a long time. Good job. They just look at you like, wow, like what it was that? So just trying to find anyone that I can maybe inspire or make them feel appreciated. Understanding that everybody is a person and everybody has problems and everybody's going through something, and that if you can just be positive to them and give them a little bit of hope or make them feel good. Part of that is me really trying to train my son that everybody deserves respect. Everybody deserves, to be treated good. And so, I do my best at every cleaning lady that's in my building, the security guys, the gardener people, I go out of my way to make sure I say hi to those people. And my son sees that because, as we know, people do what people see. I mean, that's the number one number one motivational thing you can do is that.
Cool. Now, if you could be remembered for only one thing, what would that be?
He was kind. He was kind person. I think that's, for me, it's one of the biggest compliments I've ever had, really, is just always kind. He's a kind person. I think that is quite honestly why my wife probably allowed me to choose. She chose me is because I was kind. I was a kind person. I think that in life, people are so selfish that they don't even take time to be kind. A legacy of kindness, I don't know if that sounds great, but I think that at the end of the day, people remember how you made them feel, not what you said and what you did or whatever. It's how you made them feel. So if I can help people feel good, or I can help someone be better than they are, then that's being kind.
I like that. That sort of echoes the late Maya Angelou's quote.
Okay, yeah.
So I love that. So, what's your biggest pet peeve?
Man, I have
hackles up.
Yeah. There's a lot of those. Let's see here. A pet peeves of mine, I think, is one of the ones is really people not paying attention to their potential. They just don't. They just don't know they can be way bigger than they are, way better than they are. I think that when someone's trying to help you and you don't even acknowledge it, I think that that's a pet peeve of mine. I think that as we get older, we really understand things. That's where wisdom comes from, right? You really understand, and you're like, you just don't get it, man. If you just look over here, you would see it. You can't just open your eyes. And I think that's a pet peeve for me. A pet peeve also, I would say, is not understanding that if you allow it, life will happen to you. And then you are going to complain about what happens to you instead of making things happen for you. Yeah.
I know we've discussed lots of things about you, and you've shared a lot of personal things about yourself, which is wonderful. But could you tell us something else about yourself that you want people to know, but most people don't know about you?
Let's see. I think that everyone, including myself, has struggles. Everyone is tired. Everyone, isn't always happy. And I struggle with it as everyone does. I think that for me at my job, I have to show people the right way. And so I try to do my best to have a great attitude. I try to do my best to show instead of tell. But man, it's hard. It's hard. I think that leadership, especially, everyone thinks about how you're supposed to lead somebody else. But the biggest challenge I have is leading myself. And even when who you are on the outside, you should know that even the person on the that shows on the outside still has internal struggles. I still have a argument with myself every time I know I'm going to get up and exercise. I know I'm going to get up and do something. And of course, that bed's calling me just like it calls everybody else. Oh, man, just stick out a little while longer with me. It's like, so I think that even on when you see somebody and they might be positive all the time, there's still struggles.
And how do you overcome them?
Grit. Being able to understand that I can't let 2 days slide. Okay. I can't let 2 days slide. So if I don't get up and I don't feel good, or my foot hurts or whatever, by day 3, I have to do it. I have to. So it's that being persistent and overcoming and listening to that voice that tells you to be fat, lazy, and don't do anything.
So it's pure grit.
It's grit, and it's not. I'm not born with that at all. I mean, that's a taught. Yeah, it has to be. It's something I had to learn. You have to learn those things, and you really learn them by watching the people around you. So as you get older, you start to see people around you that have died young. These things that start affecting people, and you say, "Whoa, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to go down that road." And so I think that that's part of it is you have to say, "Hey, listen, I'm going to live instead. I'm going to die, or I'm going to live." And a lot of times you could ask somebody, say, "Hey, would you die for your kids?" "Oh yeah, I'd die for my kid tomorrow." "But will you live for your kid?" Are you going to be disciplined enough to live for your family? So that's kind of the struggle.
So it sounds like the live for your kid, live for your family is really a bit of your purpose.
Has to be. It has to be. I have so much to do. I have so much to give. I have so many more people to help. I gotta be able to live it.
Now, David, if any of our listeners want to get hold of you online,
sure,
where's the best place to find you?
My LinkedIn, David Archibald in Vietnam. I have a YouTube channel. It's called I Just Drew a Blank.
It's called I Just Drew a Blank. No, we'll put in the show notes. We'll put all the contact details.
It's called Unlock Potential.
Unlock Potential.
Yeah. So, and that's, for me, I really want to help people unlock the potential they have. And so you can find it under David Archibald or Unlock Potential there. I do a little bit of stuff. I let people come in and you can see my training for my staff too, a little bit. Yeah.
Cool. Now, as we close, what's one question you wish that I'd asked you, but I haven't? And whatever that question is, how would you have answered it anyway?
Oh, let's see here. I guess, how do you find your purpose?
So how do you find your purpose?
So how is it that someone can find their purpose? And finding your purpose, John Maxwell has a way of trying to help someone with that. And that's, and you asked this question before, what makes me smile, right? So as a person, you have to ask yourself, what makes you happy? Not what gives you pleasure, what makes you happy? I think that people really confuse with pleasure and happiness. What makes you happy and what makes you sad? What is it that you feel bad about and feel for someone else? And the last one is if you could instantly be somebody, if you could instantly, become who you want to be, what is it? And between those three questions, pretty much anybody can kind of figure out what their purpose is, what they should be trying to do. So either, what problem you're trying to solve, what do you want to prevent from happening, what makes you happy, and what could you be if you really wanted to? If it could be easy, what would it be?
Thank you very much, David. So thank you. I hope, listeners, that you really enjoyed that. Our David Archibald here is, he is here to help folks like you. So look him up online, connect with him, follow him, listen from his wisdom. Thank you again, David, for joining us today.
Thank you, Rick. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.